Hi everyone! Today I wanted to share an in-depth look of my daily planning pages and how those came to be. If you take a step back and look at the big picture, you will realize that there are really only three types of planners out there. You're either going to have a monthly, a weekly, or a daily type of planning system. And with all of the planners that I have tried throughout the years, I realized that what was really missing from most of my planning system was some type of a daily page. And that is because of who I am. Essentially, I like to be very detailed. I have a lot of to-do lists and tasks I want and need to get done, as well as a lot of personal tracking type of things that I want to incorporate as well. If you've done any research out there, there are plenty of ways that you can adapt your current system to this type of thing, whether you use a dashboard, a bookmark, or just even use Post-its or something like that. I've tried all those different kinds of things and they weren't really working for me. I wasn't satisfied with the long-term results of that. I wanted something that I could be able to have a tangible tracking system where I could look back on it from week to week or month to month and I could see some progress. I also wanted something that was all in the same spread and all out in the open and on the same page. I tried different things where in the ring bound planners where you have different sections, and for some reason that just does not work for me to have to switch back and forth with the pages and to track something and then go back to my daily pages. And that just wasn't working. I also didn't want to have like a separate to-do list because that doesn't make any sense to me. I wanted everything just all on one page, all in one planner. So if you have seen my original setup video for my traveler's notebook, you know that I am in the DIY Fish MTN 2.2 version, and that's the day on 2 pages. And that system is still working well for me, and I really like it. And as I had mentioned also, the daily page wasn't really working for me. And I will show you that right now. This page is perfectly fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. You've got the 3 main tasks to do for the day. You can track your emotions and the weather. These pentagons right here are a Japanese rating type of system. You've got the hours of the day listed on one side, which was great for either appointments or if you want to schedule your day hour by hour, and there's also, of course, space for any type of lists. This is the part that wasn't really working for me. Number one, this blank space for some reason is very overwhelming for me, as well as it kind of gives me anxiety. For some reason, if I didn't use all the space, it just made me really bothered by that. And also, with the tracking type of things that I wanted, I was trying to separate these out into sections with some washi tape. That got to be really cumbersome. Then I also tried to do some lines with highlighters or pens or things like that. And I just quickly realized that no matter what I did, it was just not going to be a sustainable option for me to do day in and day out because these are daily pages. Then I also mentioned that I had bought Marianne Mole's inserts, and she is Paper Love Forever on Etsy. Her pages were ideally the setup that I was looking for. And ironically, when I was going through some of the papers in my office, I found some pages that I had made for myself probably 10 or 12 years ago, and they were almost identical to this setup. So obviously my brain automatically goes to this, and that's the way it wants to work and wants to think. So with Marianne's pages, I also had some issues with her pages, and the main one being is that they were not customizable. There are a lot of areas that we all share, such as home and personal and work, those type of areas. But a lot of the other areas are going to be very individual. And I wasn't able to change out the icons or change the sizes or the locations of the boxes. So that was one of the issues, as well as her inserts only are sized to fit the personal Filofax. And I'm coming from a Franklin Covey Classic, which is an A5 size. And as you can see now, I'm in my traveler's notebook. And try as I might, I could not get those inserts sized correctly for either one of those planners. So that's how I ended up to start making my own types of daily pages. So let me show you what I have now. And if you've seen my other videos, you will recognize these, but these are what they look like blank with nothing else. The other great thing I love about these, they just make my right brain giddy with happiness because everything is very proportional, everything lines up correctly, and I like that there's not a ton of blank space, but yet there's a lot of versatility to this. And in comparison to the fish inserts, if obviously I'm not going to use every single space in every single box every day, and it just doesn't bother me when I don't fill out every single thing because it's busy enough that there's not too much space, but yet there's a lot of versatility, if that makes sense. So if you have seen Marianne's inserts, these are set up almost identical to hers. And this is very easy to make. My husband made it in OmniGraffle. And then all of the icons that you see here are free from, I think it's called freevectoricon.com, which I will link below. And then if you've noticed, most of my icons are going to be open, which means they just have an outline. There are several reasons for that, and that was a very deliberate decision on my part. I wanted to be able to have some versatility with that. I wanted to be able to either color them in or be able to write something in there. So let me go through each section and you'll understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about. So this is, again, my day on 2 pages. On the right-hand side, just like Marianne, she has 2 different sections, and they are very distinct and have different purposes. On the right-hand side is going to be mainly my entire planning section, and it's going to be mainly these 3 boxes with this 4th one as well. Planning is different than tracking, and that's something that has an importance to it because I was getting frustrated, and maybe you do too with your pages, is that I was getting confused by what was actually planning and what was actually tracking, if that makes any sense at all. I wanted to have a lot of things that I was tracking, but yet I didn't really need to like check it off. So that's why there's 2 different sections here. For the planning or the scheduling section, these are going to be things that actually have an appointment that need to get done that day, that this is where all your check boxes are going to be, etc. And then on this section, this is what I was talking about, where we all pretty much have the same kind of life with our planning. We all are going to have some personal things. We'll all have something to either do with work and or home and or family. And so that's how I've set up my right-hand side of my page. And then the left-hand side of the page is the tracking section. That's going to be more your time management, your personal habits and goals and things that you're actually going to track down, your emotions, things like that. So let me start with the right-hand side of the page. And this is going to be what used to be my work section. I'm no longer working outside the home, so this is turned into my computer section. Like I said with the icon, I don't use the computer every single day. So if I don't, this will be left completely blank and I won't be coloring in the computer or putting the number of hours that I'm on the computer. When I do need to use technology, I try to be very vigilant about what I am actually either watching or how much time I'm spending. So this is going to be for anything like with my YouTube videos, if I need to prepare something or what I actually want to film for that day. It can also be anything from a concept that somebody has mentioned that I want to do some research on, or a video that I want to watch, or a specific person that has some productivity tips, or just anything like that. I will mark it in here on that specific day that I have time to watch it, and then I'll just check it off. And then I can either color in here and or write the number of hours that I spend on the computer. In my personal section, which is of course my pineapple, this is going to be my personal appointments I have for the day, either doctor's appointments or, lunch with friends or something like that. It could also be a note that I need to jot down to remind myself to talk to a friend about something, or just things like that, some goals that I have, if your exercise goals, anything like that is going to go in that personal section. And then it's also going to be the baby steps towards my personal goals as well. For the house section, obviously that's going to be anything with home and family. That could be anything from the home maintenance type of things, any housekeeping things. If I try a new recipe book and I want to try a specific recipe for that, I will put that in here in the page number. Or anything to do with my kids, if I need to send them a letter or talk to them about something, that will probably go into my home and family section as well as the outside yard work and gardening, things like that. Just like I said, this is it's a structured format, but it's very open and versatile. So even though I have these sections and I'm going to have different goals and things that I need to be doing in each of that, these sections are never going to change. I'm always going to have something to do or something to work on in that particular section. This right here is, of course, my nutrition section. And you can do this a couple different ways. What I usually do is have a smaller post-it, like a 2x2 or a 1x1.5. And whether you're doing 3 to 6 meals, whatever program that you're on, you could just plan each one of your meals and snacks. And then if you have a quote-unquote perfect eating day, you can just leave it there. Or you can write everything down and have some check boxes and check actually which one you actually ate, and then you could fill in the rest and use that more of a tracking system. Of course, we all need to have water, and so this is actually a planner as well as a tracker on here. I don't care if I get more than 8 glasses. I just want to make sure I get at least my 8 per day. And then these are teacups for the herbal teas that I am trying to incorporate into my morning and evening routine. And then the line is just for what type of herbal tea I am drinking, because I want to keep track of that as well, and then I can color those in when I am done with those. The very bottom section is kind of more related to my personal and my computer section. I try and watch things like personal improvement and just kind of how to just be better and more productive. And so I can write notes on there. I just got a really meaningful compliment a couple days ago that I wrote down in this section. Some really, inspirational quotes or some gratitude or just overall just positivity right here. And these can actually turn into check boxes if I find something that I want to incorporate into my life. So that's why they're on this page as well. And as you can see, these are a lot bigger than this one because this is my planning section. I need to write a lot more down. Now, the planning section compared to the tracking section, there is going to be a little bit of overlap, as you can see, with my nutrition section as well as the personal section. For instance, of course, you want to work out every day. So I would just put out whether I'm doing the cardio or strength training or whatever that may be. And so it will be a check box right here. But over here is where I will actually track exactly what I've done. So let's go through this really quick. The top 3 boxes, of course, as you can see, are very open-ended and can be switched around at any time. But what I'm using right now is for the day and the date on this one. So like Thursday the 17th, I would put in here. If there's a celebration or a holiday, I put a sticker that correlates with that. The middle section is my weather tracking. Not only is that for the forecast, but I also track the rainfall specifically as well because I have a really huge garden that I need to take care of. So even if there's rain in the forecast, I need to keep track if it actually rained because otherwise I need to get out there and water my plants. And then this section on the right, I started using as my focus of the day or one specific task that I really needed to get done, something really important that I need to focus on. This right here is the LM Hyperdex. I have bought the stamp from Sheng Chen, who's DIY Fish, and Marianne Mole. So I had the stamp already, and then when my husband did these pages for me, he was able to incorporate this as well. So this I use with a color coding system, which I won't get into right now. I'll do a color coding video later on. But I love that this is a 24-hour clock. And then you can not only, of course, color code it, like I said, but you have space right here that you can write notes. So for instance, if I'm doing something and it's taken me a few hours and I'm wondering why it took me a few hours, I can put a little note in there or something like that. These middle sections, as you can see by the size, are a lot more important and bigger than these other ones. The first one being, of course, my relationship with my significant other, because we want to put that first and foremost in our minds. So this is going to be a section for my husband. I try and do something kind for him every day. And so when I do, I just write down what it was. Like, for instance, if I gave him a massage, and then I color in the heart to just denote that I did something nice. This also I write down if we have like a really good, important conversations, just some good quality time together. If we take a hike, the Dating Divas is kind of my go-to girls for lots of fun, cute ideas, because sometimes you just get in a rut with your dating. So just a lot of ideas right here, and a lot of things that I need to keep track of for that area. Then, of course, this is my financial area. And this one, I keep track of paydays, if there's a bill due. I use this more of a personal section. I don't write down specifically our household bills because I already know what those are, and those are on our computer spreadsheet. But I do absolutely keep track of my personal spending here. If I have bought something online and the package is arriving that day, I will write that down. Of course, anytime I have other spending at stores or online, I will mark that here. I also track how much money I put into my savings account every paycheck. And also, when I take my piggy bank and cash in my coins, I write down how much I get for that. So that's a really important section as well. This next section for me is for mainly essential oils. I have a lot of chronic health issues that I need to keep track of. And so right here, I write down a bunch of symptoms that I'm having throughout the day. And then I can write which essential oil protocol I'm using and how that worked for me. The next section is health and beauty. I have a lot of skin issues as well. And so I'm able to write down the products that I've used in the morning and at evening, and how that's working. So that's another good section for me. Then over here, the top section is, of course, God is very important in my life. And so I put that up at the top. This is going to be for any kind of devotionals that I have in the morning or scripture reading. If I'm reading some kind of spiritual article online or in a magazine, I write that down here as well, because I want to make that a big part of my day. The next part is an important personal part for me, and that is journaling, and especially handwriting and lettering and calligraphy type of practice, those kinds of things. So I'm trying to do that every day. So I just keep track of either a phrase that I'm writing over and over, or different letter or letters that I'm practicing. I'll write that down here. Literature is the next big section for me. I try to read one book a week, and then also on audiobook, I probably listen to, I'm going to say, at least 2 books a month on that. So I will just keep track of the title here, and then either how many minutes I listened, or for the actual physical book, I can write down the chapter that I'm reading for that day. Or if the chapter is too long, I can write down the number of pages. So like 135 to 165. And that way I can be sure to get books read. I have joined an online book club, as well as just the books that I want to read for myself. TV is another one. It's kind of like the computer, where it can be a really good thing or a really bad thing depending on how you're using it. I don't really have a problem with watching TV, but I want to just be sure and keep track of that. And I probably only watch, I'm going to say, 3 shows throughout the year. So I know what day that is coming out on Hulu. So I will be sure and mark that particular day and watch that. And then that will usually be my end of my viewing for the day. I actually prefer to watch movies. And so I'll just write down the title. And of course, movies are usually about 2 hours. So that will definitely be my entire viewing for the day. But I don't know what the national average is lately, but I just know it's really high. And I'm definitely below that, but I always just want to keep track, make sure that's not getting out of hand. Music is a great one for me. I really respond well to music. It can really get me out of a funk if I'm just grumpy or sad. So it's very therapeutic for me, and for some reason, it's just hard for me to remember. So this is just a good reminder for me to listen to music every day, as well as I can track what artist I'm listening to, and also, if my kids recommend a song or a particular artist or an album, then I can write that down here, and then I can check it off that I have either bought that or whatever. The next one, of course, is for prescriptions or medicines or any supplements that I'm taking. I will write that down here. And I specifically looked for this icon, which is split in the middle, and that's good for the AM and the PM. So I've done a couple different things here. I've either colored them different colors, or I've done like a series of symbols like dots and dash lines or something like that to color that in. And then this one is to track my emotions. And not only do I track how I'm feeling, I also usually track why, because there's usually a reason for that, and I can at this point pinpoint what that is. So that's been good for me as well. And then this right here is my fitness, and this is where there's going to be another overlap. So right here, what I was saying, if I want to do like 30 to 45 minutes or whatever of cardio, I will check it off here, but then I will write down here what exactly I did for cardio or weights or meditation or whatever it was. I will just track it here. And then this, for lack of a better word, is my body measurements. So that will either be something with some of my health issues. I need to keep track of some body measurements as well as my weight tracking. So how this has really helped me, it's just been such an eye-opener. I'm able to maybe look back a few weeks back and say, I really have made some progress. Or I'll look over here and say, why didn't I get anything done? And I'll look over here and I'll find out that I had a really emotional day or something, or like we just had a death in the family. So a couple days ago, my pages were pretty sparse, and I just didn't beat myself up about it because we were grieving. And I think that's another great thing about this, is it gives you reasons as you look back and forth. If I've gotten a lot of things done over here, but I look over here and I'm in a lot of pain, then I'll realize that I overdid it and I need to slow down a little bit the next day. So it's really been helpful for me. It's also been able to help me have some correlation between some things. If you have some health issues like I have, maybe you can figure out that's something in the weather that is bothering you, or just something like that, or some emotions, and you can kind of figure out. If I have, obviously if you only got a few hours of sleep, you're not going to be productive the next day. So it seems like it's common sense, but I think David Allen said it best when in Getting Things Done. He said the brain is for brain is for thinking, not for storage. And I think that's why a lot of us call our planners our brains. It's because this is a place where we can actually put things down, and we don't have to process it necessarily until we go back and actually look at some things. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it really doesn't matter what you're working on. It could be something really small like making your bed. And I know I've seen this before in some of the planner groups, and there's been so many comments. I feel like they're a little bit condescending, because people will say something like, why do you have to write down making your bed? Like, isn't that an automatic thing? Well, maybe it is for them at this time. Maybe that's something that somebody else is struggling with their whole life. It really just doesn't matter. If that's something that you need to work on, don't feel bad about it. Maybe you're better at something than somebody else that they're struggling with, and vice versa. So I think we just need to be a lot more compassionate with ourselves and with other people, because these little things, they do add up. But I don't know if you've seen the talk on, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's a Navy commander, and he was giving a commencement speech on how to change the world, and it starts by making your bed. It's a fantastic talk. I'll try and link that below. But it's just those little simple habits that sometimes we just need help with. Sometimes, life just happens. Like I said, we just had a death in the family. Sometimes you have health problems, your financial issues come up, or just stuff happens, and you just can't beat yourself up about it. You just have to keep going forward and just do the best you can. And depending on your situation, that may mean different things at different stages in your life and different days. Obviously, we all have better days than others. So this has been really, really helpful for me. The other thing I like about this is, like I said, it is very structured, but it's very open. I'm like everybody else, where I do want some pretty planning. And so I am able to still have enough flexibility with this where I can add in some stickers and a bunch of washi tape and some coloring. And that's how I get my creativity as well as my visually appealing page. So it really has been working well for me. Like I said, this is really easy to make if you want to do something like this. And like I said with Marianne, I will say if I have to choose one specific person who I probably am most like and who I want to most be like, that would be Marianne. Her system is a very well-oiled machine. She does some really great things like monthly reviews and other things that I'm not even close to. She's like the upper echelon of where I want to be. And hopefully I will get there soon. But I have been able to notice some other things. I've been able to make a lot of correlations with myself that have helped me a lot because knowledge is power. Also, when I first started, when you're establishing habits, they're either two different kinds. You either want to get rid of some bad habits or you want to add some good habits. And so at first when I started, I was only using a couple of different boxes. But as I've continued to work on these, month in and week out, week in and week out, month in and month out, I have noticed that I've been able to use a lot more boxes. A lot of things are getting to be a lot more easy for me. I wouldn't say they're various, super established habits yet where I don't need to track them yet, but I have seen a lot of progress. Probably in an ideal world, every single box would be filled in, every checkbox would be marked. I would have all this tracking and do a little bit of something every single day. But I'm not there yet because, like the Fly Lady says, we're working for progress and not perfection. So I hope this gives you some ideas if you have been struggling with getting things done and some tracking like I was. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.